Star Wars Republic Commando has you playing as 3-8, a clone commando who is the leader of Delta Squad. This game is recognized to be really good, and one could say that it is universally praised by those who played it. But why is that? Some would say that it's because of its gunplay and the setting, others that it's due to the personality and the story around Delta Squad. While all these things are important, I would say that they are just parts in a greater scheme. In my opinion, Republic Commando is great because it is simply built different. It is special because it broke the Star Wars mold. Hi guys, this is Jay. Star Wars usually has a lighter tone, especially nowadays with it being owned by Disney. It is a sci-fi world that can be brutal and violent, but it always keeps the magical aspect. What I mean by that is that the heroes and the good side usually prevail. Things usually work in favor of the Rebel Alliance, and all the villains have poor aim. You know the drill. There are of course exceptions, like Revenge of the Sith, for example. You can feel a very different vibe coming from that movie compared to the other ones. Where hope, balance, and justice used to be, we now see deceit, corruption, and anger. The script is flipped in a way. All of this explains how refreshing Episode 3 was for me when I first watched it. And I had a similar feeling with Republic Commando, which has a pretty dark and gritty setting. The art design really pushes that element a long way, with the characters being dirty and roughed up by the conflict. The way the characters are designed is also quite unique. From the Geonosians to the Trandoshans, they all have a distinctive aesthetic. I mean, look at the freaking Wookiees. The droids also have a scrappier look, and some of them can be quite dangerous, like the super battle droids, who are just straight juggernauts here. They can take a lot of punishment and dispense just as much. This is also well represented in the decor, which really fits the Star Wars universe, but has a darker twist. The feedback for everything you do works the same way. There's blood, enemies explode, and everything feels more brutal than in a traditional Star Wars story. Furthermore, some of the music is highly unusual for a Star Wars product. Mixed with some of the original Star Wars tracks, it makes the game a lot more intense, and is perfect to represent the clone troopers. Apart from the Clone Wars series, the stories in this galaxy far away are usually about Jedis, bounty hunters, or normal people who start a rebellion. And apparently now it's also about a group of kids who can somehow survive this cutthroat universe? Question mark. So when I see a story about a clone commando squad, I can't help but be interested in it, since it is so uncommon. In a squad shooter, one can argue that the most important things are the guns and your squad, of course. And here, both are really well done. Commandos have a unique modulable weapon, which can function as an automatic blaster, a precision rifle, as well as an anti-armor grenade launcher. You can feel the power of each weapon, as well as the damage it does to enemies. The same thing is true for the grenades. They all serve different purpose, and when used correctly, they are devastating. On top of that, certain enemy weapons can be picked up. They also have that unusual design and power, which makes them quite interesting. The way the commandos talk and react, as well as the multiple ways to order your squad around, really locks in that feeling of being a squad commander.
Unlock that door, Delta.
Slicing in now.
Commence demolitions maneuver, Delta.
Scorch priming charge.
Initiate door breach, Commando.
Let's do it. Setting detonator. Clear. Fire in the hole.
Each commando in your squad also has a unique personality and specialty. Scorch is good with explosives, while Fixer has a lot of know-how when it comes to tech. And Sev, well, Sev is a cold-hearted killer. They also have different color schemes, voices, and armor customizations. All of these elements are working in order to make them feel unique. This also helps in changing the belief that clones are simply soldiers with no personalities, in the same way that the Clone Wars show did. Here, the story is almost entirely about these clones, which is really refreshing. Throughout the game, the squad also accumulates veterancy in covert operations throughout the Clone Wars, which creates a link to the greater galactic conflict. All these aspects really add to that unique setting that the game creates. Making a story about the soldiers that fight on the front lines of a major galactic conflict seems like one of the best things to do in this universe, and I don't know why it hasn't been done more, both in movies and in games. I can't be the only one who would enjoy a mature series about a group of troopers in the style of Band of Brothers or The Pacific. In my opinion, this is the kind of game that really deserves a sequel, or at least a spiritual successor. Back in the day, a sequel was actually planned. It was called Imperial Commando, and it would follow a squad of commandos under the Imperial rule. These clone troopers were members of the 501st, were later refitted as elite squads of commandos, be sent on covert operations to hunt down Jedis and rebellion members. Unfortunately, this project was cancelled in the early stage of its development. Likewise, the alternative sequel, Rebel Commando, would follow a commando squad fighting for the Rebel Alliance. This also never saw life. Multiple causes can explain why we never saw either of the sequels become a reality. It can be attributed to low sales projections, or maybe to the fact that at the time, LucasArts was going through some changes internally. After playing many Star Wars games and seeing the majority of the movies and shows, you can feel that Republic Commando stands in a league of its own. With its gritty setting, unusual art direction, intense and brutal combat, as well as the personality and story surrounding Delta Squad. All of this is sure to make you see why Star Wars Republic Commando is a game that broke the Star Wars mold. Thank you for watching up to this point. As you can tell, Republic Commando is a Star Wars game that is close to my heart. But it is not the only one. There is a lot of great Star Wars games out there, so now I want to know which one is your favorite. I would also like to know what are your thoughts on Republic Commando. Did it have the same effect on you? Let's talk anything Star Wars in the comments below. And as always, I will see you in the next part of our Odyssey.